From now, House Democrats take their first steps toward their goal of trying to get the president's tax returns. Today's hearing in the House Ways and Means Committee could lay the groundwork for a formal request to the Treasury Department for the president's taxes. Joining me now is David Cay Johnston, investigative reporter and author of It's Even Worse Than You Think. David, always a pleasure to have you with us now. And I always want to remind the viewers, you have seen some of the president's taxes. You are one of the few people who I think has gone through them in intricate detail here. If people do see them, what will they find?
Well, Donald has a long history of cheating workers, vendors, governments that he owed money to. And we now know, because of the New York Times project and my own reporting before that, that he's also cheated the federal government in the past. Now, those cheating incidents are beyond the statute of limitations. They most likely cannot be prosecuted anymore unless the extraordinary circumstances. But his tax returns with a full audit will undoubtedly show that he has misrepresented himself on his Form 1040 and cheated our government.
Cheated our government. That's one thing, an accounting thing, and I'm not diminishing that. You're making that claim there. But what about foreign influence? Because that's what the House Intelligence Chair Adam Schiff is implying here that they want to look into, to see if there is any foreign financial influence on Donald Trump.
That's right. Ways and Means is interested in tax cheating, and they're going to hold their own hearings. The Intelligence Committee's investigation is going to look at monies that flowed to Donald over the years from Russians, from Saudi Arabians, to the people around him. And let's remember that Jared Kushner tried to use his position to leverage an $800 million or so loan out of the Qataris. And that's the focus they're going to take. And we know that there have been numerous transactions that are in various ways in the public record that simply weren't the normal way of doing business. They resulted in Donald getting a lot of money where it doesn't seem he should have gotten any, and some of them show clear signs of being money laundering on behalf of foreign interests. And that would certainly give you leverage over the president if you knew he had laundered money for you.
Do you think that would be readily evident and apparent by looking at the tax returns?
Well, tax returns are the beginning point for asking questions. You know, anyone who's been audited knows that they say, how did this number show up on this line of your tax return? And under a 1924 law that is used all the time by Congress, the Joint Committee and some other members of Congress have the right to all tax return information. Mm-hmm. And tax return information is what went into preparing your tax return.
Let me read, actually, this IRS code. It's IRS code 6103. Again, this is law. And this is what the Ways and Means Committee is looking into today with their first hearing on this. Upon written request from the chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means of the House of Representatives, the chairman of the Committee on Finance of the Senate, or the chairman of the Joint Committee on Taxation, the secretary, that's the Secretary of Treasury, shall furnish such committee with any return or return information specified in such a request. I don't think there's any ambiguity in the law there. Ways and Means Committee can ask for and get the return. I guess, how can the White House and the president fight this?
Well, presumably the Treasury Secretary could go to court and argue that it's inappropriate, and hopefully they would lose. But what Richard Neal, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, is doing is very smart. He's first having in 3 experts to explain to the public that this process has been around now for almost 100 years. It's been used repeatedly, and it is to prevent corruption in the tax collection system and to make sure that the tax system operates the way Congress intended. And after all, it's Congress that taxes us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, again, I look at the law there. I'm not a lawyer, but the code seems pretty clear that they can get it. What isn't clear to me, and I suppose the White House or the president could fight this, is any effort to make it public in any way. And they could perhaps have some argument there.
Well, I don't think so. Once members of Congress have these returns doing their oversight, as the Article 1 section of our government under our Constitution, they have an absolute right to put these things out there. What they have to be careful not to do is do it gratuitously. Mm-hmm. If there's something in there that is, embarrassing or venal in a way that's dramatic, that's not going to cut it. They have to stick to serious issues that go to our national security and to the president's integrity or lack of.
Do you believe, sitting where you are and knowing what you know, that the reason he has fought the release of this for so long or refused to release it is because, as some have speculated over time, maybe there were years he didn't make as much money as he claimed to make publicly, or something else?
Well, we know that in several recent years, Donald's income on the front page of his tax return was less than $500,000 because he got a peculiar tax benefit that New York homeowners like me get if you make less than $500,000. And he's come up with a cockamamie explanation for it. What's more likely to show up is improper deductions. Donald was tried twice for income tax fraud. And these were civil trials, but he lost both of them. And one of the judges wrote a scathing critique of him, which is in my book, The Making of Donald Trump.
David Cay Johnston, thank you for joining us today. Today, the first step from House Democrats to get a hold